Bill Searcey, I hope you're doing well, man. Welcome to the game at T-Town.
Thank you, Ryan. It's been a while. It's been a while since we spoke.
Yes, it has, and I'm thankful that you'll jump on here for a couple of minutes and
Sure.
talk a little Alabama football. We're expecting a snowflake or two, and everybody's in a panic for that. But have you already got your milk and bread, Bill? Are you okay with that?
I was just going to say, rush out and get all the milk and bread you can, and watch it not snow. But that's how we do it here.
No doubt. We've got a winter weather advisory. Winter weather warning. That's a lot of W's right there together. But let me go back to last Saturday night. Your thoughts of Alabama coming out of that Washington game?
Our worst offensive performance, maybe one of our best defensive performances, and I think we were blessed to have our defense last week. If not, it would have been a much different game, obviously. Once we decided to run the ball, I think we showed what kind of dominance we can have on the ground game. And but I wasn't real pleased, as probably a lot of people was, with the offense last week. And not so sure that the offensive line played one of their better games either.
Bill, when you look at this offensive line, was it as a group, or was there a couple of guys that just need to play better? It seemed like those centers and guards, I didn't think they had a very good game at all in that game.
That's what I took from it too, Ryan. I seem to notice more of the problems coming from right there in the middle, and just too much penetration and not giving our quarterback enough time to do what he needed to do and make the proper reads. And if there's some guy sitting in your back pocket, it's hard to run that read option. And so I think we had a lot of that, and I don't know why. I don't know if it was missed assignments or. I should say that Washington is a very, very good defensive team. I shouldn't downplay that. It's not like we were playing some average defensive team. They are a very good defense. But still, and probably the best defense we played against all year, but still, I know that we can play a lot better, and getting silly penalties before the snap and letting the clock run out and those kinds of things. I don't know what was going on last week offensively, but thank goodness our defense was there to do what they needed to do and stay on the field as long as they needed to. But I just think it's going to be a totally different game this coming week.
Let me go and just talk about it from an offensive philosophy here. How big of a change do you think it will be now that you have a new offensive coordinator in a short amount of time to get ready for Clemson?
The fact that he's been there all year and has been involved in the game planning, knows all the players know him. He's very familiar with the system. He was taught and brought up along with Kiffin by the same people. So of course, you're going to have some impact. You got to change the personality and that kind of thing. But you and I both know that the head man is the one that really, really matters. And I trust his decision-making and trust that he would never make a decision that he thought would lessen his team's ability to win. And so in accordance with that, I have to go along with, his choice of letting Sarkisian go ahead and step in. And hopefully it may even bring a little bit of spring, a little bit of new life to the offense. Who knows? But I'm thinking on the positive side and thinking that he will take advantage of those running backs that we do have and establish that running game that all of us have been talking about all year, Ryan.
Bill, we've been talking about negative plays. Nick Saban talked about it yesterday. We've had several callers who brought it up. Alabama's 122. They rank 122nd out of 128 teams with negative plays. In other words, they have a lot of negative plays. How important is it for Alabama to get positive yards on first down? Because I'd be willing to bet a lot of those are on first down because it sort of gets us behind the chains a little bit.
It's extremely important because you're either starting you're going in at second and 5 or second and 4, versus, 2nd and 12 or 13. So it puts us in a position to make our quarterback do what he is not the best at yet, and that is passing the ball. I'm not saying he's not good and won't be great, but as of now, the difference between him and Clemson's quarterback to me is this. Clemson's quarterback has all the confidence in the world that he can complete those tough passes, and he complete them when he has to, when it's 3rd and 14 or 3rd and 12 or whatever. I think our young quarterback is not there yet confidence-wise and tries to make a lot of plays with his legs when he sees the passing lanes breaking down. So it's really important for us to establish ourselves on first down and have a 2nd and 5 or better when we can.
Bill, let me go here for just a couple seconds and let me ask you about this defense. Bill, if Alabama wins on Saturday, we're going to have on Monday, we're going to have a conversation that this defense is the best one we've ever seen in college football. I think they can make that argument. But if they lose, then will that take away from the legacy of this defense, in your opinion?
It might, Ryan, but I still feel like that they're the best overall that we've seen, that I've seen. From every position and from the amount of people that we're going to see play on Sundays and first-round draft picks and what they've done this year. Of course, winning on Monday night kind of solidifies that place in history. But if they didn't win, there may be some question marks. Just depends on how the game goes and how they lost if they did lose. So, they've scored so many touchdowns and they've scored so many points for us that I'm not sure how you could ever lose any of the shine or the luster off that defense. But obviously winning always adds a little bit to it.
What are your keys to victory for Alabama? What do you think Alabama needs to do? I know you've already talked about Jalen Hurts, and you could add confidence to that, maybe simplify the game plan. But what do you think are the keys to victory for Alabama?
I think the keys to the victory are for us to establish our running game, and so that when we do pass, it's not out of absolute necessity, but it's because we're working it into our game plan. I think that our offensive line has just got to not make foolish mistakes, and if we get beat on a play, it won't be because of a missed assignment. It might be we just got beat by a better player, but we just can't make silly mistakes and have silly penalties. I think the defense is going to have to score some points again, and we're going to have to shut down Clemson's quarterback as best as we can, and not let him use his legs to beat us like we know he can. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, and we're going to have to, once again, we'll lean on our defense heavily, and just hopefully our offense can score enough points to get us the victory, man.
When I look at this defense, and being a competitor like you are and like you played at the University of Alabama, I look back at this defense and I continue to hear rumbling about how they felt disrespected, they felt embarrassed of Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
I'm just curious what you think about that, and maybe they have something to prove against a guy like Deshaun Watson.
Oh, I think they do, because I've heard them talking in their press conferences this week, talking about how after the game last year, even though they won, they felt really bad about the defensive performance and letting Clemson score so many points and run up so many yards. So I think there's been a whole year of thinking about planning revenge, wanting to get back to Clemson. So there's a little payback factor there, just as Clemson has been waiting a year to get back at Alabama and try to get that payback on us. So, look, I wouldn't want to be the quarterback facing Alabama's defense on Monday, knowing how they feel about you. They play angry anyway, and I think they're going to play extremely angry Monday night. And I look forward to just an unbelievable defensive performance. I heard Minkah Fitzpatrick saying that he's been waiting for a year and has thought about nothing else but trying to pay Clemson back. So it ought to be extremely interesting.
But can you have your emotions in the wrong place? I mean, this applies to Clemson going up against Alabama. and it also applies to Alabama. I mean, how do you control that emotions and not get it, in the wrong place?
Well, I think you can get overly hyped, and that causes you to make mistakes if you come out too tight. But you know what? I'm speaking of defense now. Our defense has been has been hyped for every game this year, and it hasn't seemed to affect them in any negative way. They've played on this big stage so many times. Granted, this is Clemson's second go-around in 2 years, but we've done it a lot, Ryan, and whether it's SEC championship or national championship. And these guys out there playing have all been in big games and had their backs against the wall many times. So I don't worry about our guys being overhyped and so that it hurts them in any negative way. But it can if you're not used to it and you get too hyped up, and it could hurt Clemson. Hopefully it will. But I'm not worried about our guys. Our coaches keep our guys in check enough to keep them in their heads in the game and focused on all the right things.
Bill, I'm sitting here debating whether I should ask you this question or let it go. But I thought about those instructions, but you know where I'm going now. Clemson has been caught on video camera sort of grabbing male parts, okay?
Yeah.
And it's not just happened once, it's happened multiple times. And then there was a player that was asked about it a couple of days ago, and he said, well, we do it all the time. I'm just curious, you've been in those piles, man. I mean, is this a common occurrence, or is this something odd and unique?
I'll be honest with you. I heard him say that same thing in a press conference, and I was shocked. First, I was shocked to hear him say they do it all the time, and I was in particular shocked at the area that was being grabbed. I've heard of people being pinched in a pile or poked in a pile, or maybe a finger in the face mask or something. But the way that whole thing went and the way that whole thing looks was extremely odd to me. So I don't think that's an everyday occurrence. And God love them if they try that with Alabama. It's probably not going to be a good outcome for them.
But I mean, is there any chance that some of these guys love talking smack? I just wonder if they're trying to get in the head of Alabama. In other words, we've already had players that have responded, like Cam Robinson said, that's not going to happen to me. And if it does, I'll take care of it. I mean, is there any chance they're just trying to do this to a little distraction?
Well, I guess they could be doing it to try to get that negative response, because it's always the second guy. It's always the guy who responds that gets the penalty. So, hopefully our guys are smart enough not to respond in a way to get us a penalty or get kicked out of a game or cause a big fight or, cause us big problems. Hopefully the referees, now that this has become so public, will be made very aware of all this and keep this under wraps. But, that's a good point that you make, is that maybe this is something to try to get Alabama into a penalty problem situation. Who knows? But if somebody grabs you, and if they grab you in certain places, you kind of got to retaliate.
Yeah, and that's something that we're going to watch. Bill, who's going to win this game?
I say Alabama wins. It's going to be close, though. It's 17-14, Ryan.